to grow your business in this hyper-competitive market. Now, Sales Kit is here to specialize and helps companies that are recruiting, onboarding, and ramping sales so you can add value to your business. Don't overlook your sales system when it comes time to buy or sell your next company. You can learn more at getsaleskit.com. Now, I'm your host, Mark Evans, and today I'm really excited for this conversation. We've got a Milwaukee entrepreneur here, Mr. Sequoya Borgman of Borgman Capital. He's the founder and managing director. And I'm excited to have Sequoya on the show because of his involvement with acquiring companies, adding value to these companies in a variety of different industries. So I know it's going to be a great show. Sequoya, welcome.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on the show. I appreciate you inviting me.
My pleasure, my pleasure. For those of you and y'all that are not in Milwaukee today, it's a pretty exciting day for both Sequoia and I, as our Milwaukee Bucks, our hometown team, will hopefully win an NBA Finals championship. So I think you can feel the energy in the air. But enough about the Bucks. Sequoia, what is Borgman Capital and how do you help your clients achieve their mission? Give our listeners a little bit of context.
Yeah, we're a lower middle market private equity firm really focused on owner or founder-led businesses, primarily here in the Midwest, although we've bought companies all over the country. We're headquartered here in Milwaukee. We launched in 2017, and we've bought 12 companies since we launched. And we've got a dozen people, again, really focused on really nice, established founder or family-led businesses.
Excellent. Of all the things you could have done, Sequoia, how'd you get into this? How'd you find yourself in the world of private equity?
Yeah, it's a good question. I kind of stumbled into it. So my career was a little bit different than most private equity. I got my master's in accounting and started with my career with a large public accounting firm. I spent about 20 years in public accounting. I was a partner. But really, a lot of my time and a lot of my clients were in the private equity space, and that's really where I got some experience in the private equity space, and really decided in 2017 to leave to launch a firm here in Milwaukee, and haven't looked back since.
Yeah. What was that like, kind of going from, being an employee, obviously, to being an entrepreneur? How was that transition for you from being on, maybe experiencing and seeing a lot of businesses and founder-led businesses? What was it like to be on the other side of the table where you're running your own business then?
It's a lot more fun. I wish I had done it 10 years earlier in my career. I mean, I was a partner, so I got a K1, but there was 1,000 other partners, and it's a little bit different when you're the decision maker and really taking a risk on yourself. So it's been a blast.
That's awesome. That is really cool. Sequoia, could you give us an understanding and just a little bit of background of some of the companies you typically look to acquire and some of the companies that you work with?
Yeah, we're a traditional leverage buyout shop. So we really look at nice, strong companies with big cash flow, established companies that have been around 30, 40, 50, 60 or more years, and have a nice management team in place. Just nice companies. We don't go after turnarounds or any kind of venture stuff. No new businesses. Nothing that's really high growth or high risk type businesses. These are really just established, nice businesses with an owner that wants to transition out of the business and doesn't have a real successor in place, and we step in as that successor.
Yeah, I really like that. And recently I read, I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $13 trillion in wealth will be distributed for the baby boomer generation that's looking to retire over these next 5 to 10 years or so as they're looking for a succession plan. How do you think that will impact your business, and how will that fuel your business moving forward?
It's great for business. I mean, this year will be one of the busiest years ever in transactions, and a lot of that is driven by the economy, but also that baby boomer generation that wants to kind of cash out and take some chips off the table while they're still young and healthy, and really step outside of their businesses. So it's perfect timing for what we're doing.
Yeah, I could imagine. Well, let's kind of transition into the sales aspect since this is the Inside the Sales Playbook show. I'm really curious to learn about when you look at a company, how do you evaluate it from a sales perspective? Is there anything that you look for in particular with either a sales process or sales team in place?
Yeah, it's really company by company. Some have a really strong sales-oriented entrepreneur running the company, and those we try and maintain that culture and not disrupt that momentum. Those are really nice organizations, and really we focus our time on other parts of the business. Others are maybe an engineer runs them or somebody that doesn't have a strong sales background and they focus more on the product. In those cases, we really focus on opportunities in the sales channel. Bring on a sales director or VP of sales, somebody to really lead that organization and step up their sales opportunities.
Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So it sounds like case by case situation. With one, if there's a good sales culture, you don't want to disrupt that. If there's not, you got to find either a sales VP or some level of sales management to infuse into that corporation. That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think are some of the common mistakes founders make as it relates to sales, since you work with a lot of founder-run organizations?
A lot of business owners, they get very comfortable with where they're at. The business has been around a long time. They're not very, no longer risk takers. I'd say that they're really focused on just maintaining what they've built and not taking any further risks later in their career and holdings. A lot of these entrepreneurs started when they were very young and they took huge risks to get where they're at today, but they're not willing to take those risks any longer. And they really, some on the sales side, they no longer really focus on really aggressively growing the business. So in those cases, there's tons of opportunities. Other cases, like I said, there's strong people in the place, and our big risk is that we kind of destroy that culture and momentum, and we really focus on maintaining what they've built.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. Now, if someone was looking to sell their business, and I hear this from a couple of different founders or from entrepreneurs, right, where they're maybe a year or 2 years out, they are looking to sunset, they're looking to retire, looking for the succession plan. What would your advice be to that founder that's saying, hey, in 2 years, by 2023, 2024, I want to be retired? What can they do from a sales perspective to increase the valuation of their business?
But the smart business owners start thinking at least 2 years ahead. And the ones that are very involved in their business and maybe they drive a lot of the sales, they really need to start bringing in individuals to replace a lot of their functions. Really, sales is the hardest to transition. If you have really strong relationships with your customers, if you wait to transition those until a sale, there's a huge risk that those customers go elsewhere and the buyer will pay less for the business because of that risk.
So that will impact the valuation of a business depending on the relationship of the founder and potential customers.
Yeah, how tied the founder is into the business will impact the valuation on every business. So the least involved they're in by the time they sell, the more valuable that business is.
Excellent. So have you seen companies look to start sales teams, or how have they tried to address that problem in the past?
Yeah, we have for sure. We bought one distributor that was very sales oriented, and that founder brought in 3 salespeople to replace him since he was such a strong salesperson. And then we ended up having to bring in a couple more. So his passion is sales, and he was great at it. So I mean, in that case, we had to hire 5 people to replace what he was doing.
Wow, that's a great story. So 5 for 1, that's got to make that individual feel pretty good. Yeah, is that a common situation, Sequoia? Or I know it's kind of one-off here and there, but what do you see mostly?
Yeah, I see it a lot. I mean, entrepreneurs and businesses, they're very, very passionate about their businesses, and they'll do whatever it takes to be successful. And that could be working 80-hour weeks where an hourly or a salaried individual might not have that same passion or drive So a lot of times it takes several people to replace an entrepreneur. And they don't know the business. I mean, an entrepreneur's been there, like I said, some of them 20, 30, 40 years at that business. They know all the ins and outs. They know all the cycles. They know what hasn't worked in the past. They know all the players in the industry. They know all the customers. They know all the suppliers. And when you bring in new individuals, even after a couple of years, they're just not in that same boat that a true entrepreneur is.
Yeah, nor do I'm sure they have that same level of passion that you mentioned as well. And I think a lot of sales can be passion, right? Or if you have that enthusiasm and that level of passion, that can certainly help sales move forward.
Yeah, it's nothing like owning part of the business. And that's why most of the businesses we buy, we set aside a part of the equity, the leadership and management team to earn. So they're invested in the business. It really aligns their interests and our interests. I mean, people act and are a lot more dedicated and passionate about the business when they are true owners of the business as well. So in really every case, we've set aside equity for that leadership team.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. Yeah, I got to imagine that if they didn't have any equity in the business before, that's got to seem like a pretty great situation. Not only are you coming in and bringing in your skill and experience and expertise, but also a piece of the equity. That's got to make for a pretty great opportunity for those that are at that business still.
Well, yeah, we think so, for sure.
Yeah, I certainly could imagine. Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about the other side of the equation when it comes to an acquisition. Let's talk about post-acquisition. What's your advice to a team that needs to grow and scale a sales team post-acquisition?
Yeah, really, if you're growing or scaling, you really need to understand the product that you're selling, where you add value, and where you can compete and maintain your margins. Again, I mean, any company can sell if they're given it a product. So it really, you've got to be able to stay disciplined, stay in the lane where you can add value and you can compete while maintaining your margins, and don't get far outside of what you do well. I mean, the business has been built on focus, and I see one mistake a lot of sales organizations and really great salespeople, they get distracted with easy sales. The easiest sale is something where you're not making money on that sale. So that's one mistake I see a lot is staying focused on where you can actually make some money and add value to the business and add value to the customer, so that they're willing to pay for that margin. That's one thing that really, when you're scaling a sales organization, make sure that you stay focused on where you can add value.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think sales in general, right, can be a distracting type of business. As someone who's in it and has spent a career in sales, I think it's almost like a lot of salespeople have this shiny penny syndrome, is what I like to call it. Well, here's this opportunity over here, here's this opportunity over there, not realizing that there's acres of diamonds in their own kind of backyard with a tried and true customer segment that they know well and can really deliver some value with.
Yeah, the best opportunities are with your current customers that already know you, to expand kind of your product offering among those customers. And you're right. I mean, there's a lot of salespeople that are very good at activity, but really results are what matters at the end of the day. So staying focused on what's important for the business, I'd say, is one of the most important thing a salesperson can do.
Yeah, I could definitely imagine that. When you're looking at companies and you have to bring in sales leadership to help manage the company and move forward with that, either to replace the entrepreneur or to expand into new markets, what are you typically looking for from a sales leadership, sales management perspective? And for those that for those that may be watching or listening to this when it comes out, that want to be a part of a company that is private equity backed and really looking to grow, how can they kind of stand out amongst the field of other candidates?
Yeah, we're looking for somebody that can move the needle in a short period of time. I know it takes it takes 6 to 24 months to really get up to speed on a new industry, new product, new company. So really, we look for somebody that already has some experience and some relationships in that sector. And if we're able to find somebody in that space, then we'll definitely pursue them. If we're not, then we'll go outside of the industry and look for somebody that's kind of very wants to build something good, that has some entrepreneurial spark, doesn't want just a 9-to-5 job, somebody that's willing to really be part of something great. And that's what would be our second choice. And they don't need to have industry experience if they're a really good, strong salesperson that's passionate about what we're doing, and again wants to build something, take a really nice business and take it to the next level. Those are the best types of individuals we can find.
Yeah, I could certainly imagine with that, because I think sales in general, right, can be a very entrepreneurial profession inside of a business, and you can be almost your own entrepreneur. So I could see having someone like that could be really valuable for the portfolio companies. Sequoia, do you typically have a playbook that you use when it comes to after you acquire a business? I know that it's kind of with each one, it's a little bit different, but is there anything from a sales and marketing perspective that you really like to implement at each company, kind of like a baseline to say, hey, this is at least part of our playbook that we like implementing? And if you can share that with us, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, no, we have a playbook for every transaction, but like you said, every company is different. So I see some people making mistakes just sticking too close to their playbook. You really have to understand that business and understand what it needs. And do you really need to spend some money upgrading the sales function? A lot of people go in there day one, they get a new website, new SEO, they spend a lot of money on advertising and marketing and helping sales by drumming up leads and but at the end of the day, you have to understand, is that going to add value to the business, or is that just wasted money? Do you really just need to focus on your current customers? Maybe inside sales is where you're generating the most value for that business. So not every playbook works for every company.
Yeah, so you're looking at, I would imagine, through the due diligence cycle. Are you starting to pick out, all right, maybe this is the play that we need to implement with this company. Here's maybe another play that we have to implement with another company. Or do you start seeing that in due diligence, or is it only until you acquire the company that you really open up that playbook and start executing on it?
We start thinking about that day one, really even before we put in an offer on the business, or long before we start due diligence. We kind of think about what's going to take the business and where can we add value to help get it to the next level. And if we don't see opportunities, then it's not a business that we're going to pursue. But then we do a deep dive during diligence, and then by the time we close, which is usually 90 days or so after agreeing to terms, we have a game plan in place on what we want to do on day one with regard to sales. But truthfully, right now, the sales has been one of the least concerns among most of the businesses we're looking at with this pandemic-induced demand. It's just operations and just filling orders or sourcing supplies and inventory is a much bigger issue than sales. I wouldn't say all our companies, but most of our companies right now could sell more product if they could source it or build it, or if they had more capabilities. So sales, I would say to some extent right now is kind of on the back burner for many companies across the country.
Yeah, so now it sounds like, and I've heard this from other sources as well, where, yeah, if they had the supplies, if they had the materials, it could continue to be a record-breaking month or year. But yeah, due to supply chain, that some organizations have to put the brakes on some things. I could totally see that. Has COVID affected your businesses or your portfolio companies in any other way that you'd want to share?
Really, last year we spent really focused on this safety and health and welfare of all our employees. So we spent a lot of money focused on that area. Of course, that impacted all our businesses. Fortunately, the economy's rebounded great. All our businesses are on fire right now. Some of them are having the record years in the history of the business, and it's been nice to see. I didn't expect that 16 or 17 months ago when all this first started. I thought the sky was falling. So we're sitting in a very fortunate position right now.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. Well, Sequoia, I think this is a good place. I want to finish and transition and close out with our final 5. So these will be 5 rapid fire questions that I'll ask and you answer. These will be fun ones. Are you ready?
Sure.
Awesome. Give me a favorite business or sales related movie of yours.
A favorite business or sales related movie of mine would be, I don't know. You've stumped me right there. I like the old Godfather movies, but I don't know if that's very appropriate for what we do.
That's, Sequoia, that's the first time anybody has mentioned that. We get a lot of like Wolf of Wall Streets and things like that, but I think this may be one of the best answers I've heard. The Godfather. Yeah, that is a business movie. That's one way to run a business.
That's a family business for sure. And many of the family businesses we buy are very similar to the Corleone family.
Very fair, very fair. Cool. That's a great one. So we'll do Godfather. I'm definitely going to say Godfather 1 with that too. Give me a favorite sales or business related book that you've been recommending to people or recommend to management teams of companies that you've acquired over the past year or two.
Well, the book I buy for all our executives is 90-Day Plan. That one puts together a 30, 60, and 90-day plan. And in there's a sales plan as well. When I started out in professional services, there was a partner that gave me a book. It's called Marketing and Selling Professional Services. And I've kept that book for 20 some years. I flipped through it. A lot of changed over that period. There was no SEO marketing and stuff back then, but it comes down to networking. And there's a great quote about your net is your net worth, and it's a very, very true statement. So that's one I flip through myself quite a bit.
Awesome, I like that. So the first one is the title The First 90 Days?
The First 90 Days, yes.
The First 90 Days. Okay, that's an excellent one. And then the title of the second one, Marketing Professional Services?
Marketing and Selling Professional Services.
Marketing and Selling Professional Services.
At the end of the day, no matter what you're selling yourself. So that's professional services.
Yeah, I totally agree. I really like that. What do you know now that you wish you would have known when you first started your private equity firm a few years ago?
The one thing I didn't expect is how many people the businesses run great, but we all are always dealing with people. HR issues that takes up more of my time than anything. So I think that wasn't something I expected 4 years ago, that how much of my time would be spent on addressing people issues and concerns and really human capital at the end of the day. And that's what we're buying. When we buy a business, we're buying a group of people, and that's what we need to focus on.
Yeah. What's your advice for maybe a founder or an entrepreneur that's going through something similar where they're saying, geez, it seems like more and more of my day is spent on human capital issues?
Yeah. It's where you add value in your business is having great people. So building your culture, it's very, very important. I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't invest in a HR executive. I think that's an area that entrepreneurs should consider bringing in a director, really help them with their culture and maintain their people. Right now, with the tight labor market, retention is key to every business, and it's a lot easier to retain your current employees, your good employees, than it is to go out and recruit new employees that you don't know how they're going to do, and it takes a long time and money to get them up to speed on the business. Yeah,
I totally agree with that. That's some great advice. What's a favorite purchase of the past 12 months? Can be business, can be personal, under $1,000.
Favorite purchase under $1,000 over the last 12 months. I haven't been spending much money at all over the last 12 months, given that we've been kind of cooped up here. We're open up early. I would say we're a big skiing family. So last Christmas, I did buy myself some skis. So that was kind of my splurge over the last year, and that was under $1,000. So I think that would qualify. But looking forward to doing some skiing this winter as well.
Yeah, awesome. I'm sure that'll be nice to get back out and hit the slopes. Sequoia, who's a business leader or a thought leader that you really enjoy following?
I just read the Steven Schwartzman's book, the one that started Blackstone. That great book. I'm signed up for his LinkedIn quotes and all that kind of stuff. So I'd say him. Warren Buffett, of course. I've got his quotes all over my website, but that's what everybody says. I'm sure. I mean, just looking around my office, I've got some Winston Churchill quotes. I've read a lot of his books or biographies on him. So I read a lot. I've probably got about 20 books in a nightstand right now. I get about halfway through them and then I move on to the next one. I've got a short attention span. So I need like 2 months to get caught up on all of them, and then I can move on and read some new ones.
Are you an individual that has to finish a book before you'll take it off the nightstand?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I do finish them. It's been a really busy year. We've bought three companies in the last quarter, and I just haven't had time to get to work down my pile of books right now.
That's certainly fair. That's certainly fair. Sequoya, if our listeners or viewers want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do so?
Either through LinkedIn, email, give me a call. I'm available.
Cool. Awesome. Sequoya, I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for taking us inside your sales playbook.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on your show. I enjoyed it.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure.
And go Bucks.
Go Bucks.